2 years have passed since everything changed. It was supposed to be easy. A trip to the beach with my son Leo. Ethan, my husband, couldn't come with us. He didn't work was always the most important thing, and I was used to being by myself. But that day felt different in some way, not only back then, but also now. While the sun warmed us, we spread out the towels. It might have been too warm that day. I laid down, enjoying a rare break from the noise of the world, and asked Leo to help me put sunscreen on my back. I didn't think about it. I have a kid. My kid, why would I? At first it looked like he was just helping me out with his hands. I saw it after that. He touched me again and again, moving lower and lower. I didn't stop him. Why did I not do it? You believe you know yourself, your family. But sometimes one moment can break everything down. For me, it took place at the beach that day. Since then, I've not been the same. I had been married to Ethan for over 15 years. People who knew us would have told you we were a great match, a lovely home, wonderful children, and a steady existence. It's not until you're inside that you notice the problems. Being hollow is something you can't feel unless you're living it. Ethan's work was all he thought about for years. Weekends, late nights, and even holidays. He did it for us, I used to tell myself. That his hard work and dedication were meant to make things better for our family and the future. But that line of thinking stopped making sense after a while. How much is a house worth if no one lives in it? He could no longer see me. He barely looked at me when he got home. He stopped asking about my health, wants, and needs. We talked for short amounts of time about things like bills, food, or the kids. He cared about Leo and Lily Leo's little sister. He was more like a ghost, though even with them there, it's there but not really there. I used to sit across from him at the table and wonder if he still saw me. I remember that morning very well. Ethan ran out the door while I was in the kitchen. He took his suitcase out, kissed Lily on the head, and gave me a quick look. I'm sorry, Freya. I'm not able to make it today. He said that something came up at work. I didn't argue. I just nodded and swallowed the lump in my throat, like I always do. I told myself it was fine. Leo and I could go by ourselves. Leo was 16 years old and tall and skinny. He had the brown eyes of his father, but a softer face. When I told him it would just be the two of us, he didn't say much. He just gave me a shrug, took the bags, and followed me to the car. He sat in the passenger seat, listened to music, and looked out the window like many teens do. I couldn't help but smile as I watched him. He changed so fast that I often thought I might blink and lose him too. As I drove to the beach, my mind kept going back to Ethan as it often did. I remembered the things we did together. Nights at the movies, long walks and trips planned at the last minute, just for fun. I thought about how he used to touch me, how his eyes would shine when he saw me. It had been years since I felt that way. I didn't feel much. I was worn out from not being seen. Leo helped me take our stuff to a quiet spot by the water when we got there. He set up the umbrella while I laid out the towels. I just had to talk to him. For some reason. It could have been that he was the only one there. Maybe all I needed was someone to listen. Do you agree that it's nice to be outside? I tried to sound happy as I spoke. He brushed his hair back and nodded. He said, "Yeah, Mom, it's nice." When I lay down on the towel, the sun's heat hit my skin. I did nothing for a while to try to let go of the stress of the past few years, even if only for a short time. Then I thought of the sunscreen. I got up and looked at Leo. "Could you help me put this on my back?" I asked. "I'm not able to get to it." He thought about it for a second before he took the bottle from me. I lay down again with my back to the towel and tried to wait. He was careful and light with his first touch, like he didn't want to hurt me. It made me laugh because it made me think of how he held my hand with his little fingers when he was younger so we could cross the street. I told him, "You can press a little harder." but my voice was quiet. It's all right. As he put the oil on my shoulders and back, he became more sure of himself as he did it. It was the warmth and beat of his hands that made me close my eyes. I let myself enjoy it for a short time. I hadn't been touched in a long time. That thought hurt a lot more than I should have said. Then, though, his hands started to move down carefully and slowly. Down the curve of my back, I gasped for air and opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. In spite of having a lot on my mind, I kept quiet. I told myself everything was okay, that he was just helping out and I was making things up. I knew I wasn't, though. After he put down the towel, his hands paused for a moment and hung near the edge. I could feel both his and my own doubt, and I didn't stop him. Instead, I said things I regretted. It's all right. You can also touch that. The statement hung in the air like something dangerous, and as soon as I said it, I knew. No one else was doing it. He didn't answer, and Leo didn't stop. I closed my eyes tight and felt his hands touch things they shouldn't have. I thought he might hear my heart beating so fast I was ready to get up and tell him to stop. I didn't, though I was unable to. I didn't do anything about it. I still don't fully understand why. Maybe it was the feeling of being so alone. It could have been the need for recognition, even though it was wrong. Or perhaps I no longer cared. On that beach day, something inside me broke, and things haven't been the same since. Thanks for staying with me this far. I know this is hard to hear, and I appreciate you doing so. Please like and subscribe. If you find this story interesting, or think it might speak to someone you know, it helps me tell more stories like this and makes me feel like I'm not alone. Let's move on now. Everything felt different after that day. The way Leo looked at me afterward, what had happened, and how I felt were all things I couldn't change. It wasn't short-lived or unimportant. It never stopped. When I looked into his eyes, I couldn't put my finger on what was making him look that way, but I also couldn't look away. It was all buried when we got home that night, like nothing had happened. I did what I had to do. Made dinner, asked Leo about school, and folded clothes late at night. As I thought about what happened that afternoon, my hands shook the whole time. His hands, the way he stayed, and the way I felt tense, all made me think of him. I felt bad about what I did, and didn't like that he made me feel that way about my own son. Ethan did not notice anything strange. He always got home late with his face tired and his tie slack. Out of habit, he kissed my cheek, leaving behind a faint hint of the love it used to hold. A long day, I asked to get a talk going. He just grunted and nodded, and he was on his way to the living room. The usual thing to do. His appearance made me feel like an afterthought, and I felt like I wasn't seen again. That night, Ethan snored next to me while I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. Even though the house was quiet, my thoughts were very loud. I thought about Leo all the time, his hands, his eyes, and everything that had happened. I had to end it before it got worse, because I knew it was wrong. But a darker, lonelier part of me stuck to it, wanting the touch, the attention, and the sense of being seen. The days went by, and Leo never said anything about it, but his quiet spoke louder than any words. He didn't stay away from me. Instead, he seemed to stay up close. He would watch me while I cooked, cleaned, or just sat by myself at night. I let it happen. I didn't stop him or myself. The next weekend was unbearably hot, and the house felt like it was on fire. He was gone again because he had to work another last-minute shift. Again, it was just Leo and me. If he was okay with going back to the beach by himself, I asked him. I'm not sure why I brought it up. I might have thought that being outside would help me think more clearly. I might have wanted to test myself and see how far I could push everything away. It was quiet on the drive. Leo didn't use his ears this time. He did nothing but stare out the window, and his knee kept moving around. I tried to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come out, no matter how hard I tried. The beach was almost empty when we got there. The water was a bright blue color, and the wind felt good against my face. Again, we spread out the towels, and Leo helped us get ready. I couldn't bring myself to ask him to put on sunscreen this time. I closed my eyes and laid down, acting like everything was fine, but I could still feel his eyes. He saw me, that's for sure. Later that afternoon, things finally broke. We chose to use the beach showers to clean up before going. Just to get rid of the sand. It was meant to be quick. But something strange happened that I still can't explain. The first person to step under the water was Leo, who let it run down his back. I stayed out of the way and watched him for a moment before stepping in. I don't know why I took off my clothes and stood next to him in the cool water, letting the water run over my skin. Leo looked at me with surprise. It was hard to read his face. It could be surprise, doubt, or something else. He didn't say anything. After looking into his eyes for a moment, I told him, "You should take off your shorts too. You need to rinse well." I'm not sure why I said that. I might have been trying to show myself that I was in charge and could stop everything. Or maybe I was trying him out or to see how I do. He paused for a moment but then gave in and took off his shorts. We were standing there by ourselves while the rain fell. Slowly, I asked, "Help me with my back to him." Yes, he did. Like before, he was careful with his touch. It was clear that there was strain between us. I stopped moving when his hands touched my waist. The air was thick, and the sound of the water blocked out everything else I might have been able to leave. I had the power to end it. Instead, I leaned back against him, grabbed his hands, and pulled them up to my chest. He didn't fight back when I did. What came next is hard for me to explain in full. I'm not going to. It was a blur of need, loneliness, and something deeper that I can't name. It wasn't soft, it wasn't slow either. It was fierce, hopeless, and wrong. In every way, I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. I didn't want to. After it was over, we just stood there under the water that kept pouring down, wiping away any remains that could be seen, but not the truth. He hugged me, held me like no one had in years. I let him. After that, we didn't say anything to each other. Following a silent walk back to the car, we dried off, packed up, and left. I caught a glimpse of Leo out of the corner of my eye and noticed that his lips were red and his moves were stiff. I knew I messed up everything. I was sure that we had crossed a line that could never be crossed again. Still, I felt alive for the first time in years. The ride home in the car started out quiet. It was squished and heavy inside the car, like the air itself was weighing us down. Even though I had my eyes on the road and my hands on the driving wheel, my mind wouldn't stop racing. I could still feel him. The size of what had just happened. His hands, and being there, I couldn't take my eyes off of him in the passenger seat. He sat still and stared out the window. His red face and tightened mouth showed how upset he was. Then, out of the blue, he spoke up. "Mom?" he said in a timid, low voice. I didn't want to look at him. I didn't dare, but I could hear him well. What did you do back there?" My heart beat faster. I thought for a moment about acting like I hadn't heard him, changing the subject or ignoring it. But denying it didn't help, not after what we did. After taking a shaky breath, I told them, "I don't know." It was true, or as close to it as I could get. It was hard for me to figure out what had happened and why. I only knew that everything had changed. The quiet didn't end when we pulled into the driveway. The engine stopped when I did, but neither of us moved. Leo then looked at me very closely. Something scared me about what I saw in his eyes. It wasn't shame, guilt, or uncertainty. It was want. "How long have you felt this way?" These words made me shiver when he asked. The same question had been on my mind. When I looked into his eyes, something inside me burst open. I'm not sure I spoke softly. Perhaps I might have said longer than I want to. We sat there in the dark with the weight of words that we didn't say filling the air. I believe that was the end of it. We were going to go inside, forget about it, and act like it didn't happen. Leo had other ideas, though. He kissed me before I could open my door. It was shaky at first, slow, as if he was afraid I'd pull away. I didn't, though. I let him kiss me, and he kissed me back. I lost it at that point. It was either being alone, not being cared for in years, or the way Leo looked at me like no one else had. In a long time, I didn't fight back against whatever it was. He pulled me closer right there outside our house, moving his hands over me like they belonged there. I felt alive for the first time in what seemed like a long time needed scene. Other things didn't matter. I don't know how long we were stuck together there, but we went inside in the end. I can't even remember how I got to the door, just the way his hand felt on mine and the tense silence between us. Once they got inside, things got worse. It was like we had been holding back for so long that we were finally able to let it out. The dam had broken. After that, the days were cloudy. Leo was always close to me and would find reasons to touch me or look me in the eye when no one else was around. I told myself over and over to stop going through this. But every time I looked at him, I saw the same nothingness I was feeling. It was like we were mirrors, mirroring each other's desire. And I just couldn't say no. I didn't want to. I lay in bed next to Ethan at night and looked up at the ceiling while listening to his steady breathing. I could only think about Leo. The way he touched me made me feel alive again. Even though my guilt was like a snake inside me, it wasn't enough to stop me. I knew it was wrong and couldn't last, but I couldn't get away from the pull. Things got worse between us until they finally stopped. I washed dishes at the kitchen sink one night to take my mind off of things while Ethan worked late and Lily was asleep. Leo was behind me. He looked at me the same way he did at the beach when I turned around. I said to Leo in a soft voice, "Be careful." He didn't run away, though. He got so close that I could feel his breath on my skin. She said, "Mom, I think about you all the time." I went cold. I thought my heart might burst because it was beating so fast. I told him to hold on, go back to his room and leave me alone. I should not have said that, but I did. I also can't stop. That's when things broke. Leo kissed me once more. This time, it's harder, needed badly. I kissed him back. It didn't bother me that it was wrong. I forgot about Ethan, Lily, and the life we had made together. Everything was about Leo, my boy, the only person in years who made me feel like I was important. Nothing is back to normal. Since that day at the beach, I don't think it will ever. Leo and I broke a rule that we can't take back. The shame is always there and hurts so much. It doesn't stop me, though. That's what scares me the most. I look at Ethan and Lily every day and wonder how they can't see it. The way they don't see the cracks in our family. It's possible that they are too busy with their own lives, or maybe I'm just better at hiding it now. I know this won't last, though. Secrets always seem to come out. Things will break down when they do. I've tried to end it. I told myself it was wrong, that I and Leo both deserve better. But I lose myself every time he touches me or looks at me, like I'm the only one who matters. I haven't felt this alive in years. Because of him, perhaps ever. That's the truth I have to face. This is broken and I have no idea how to fix it. I'm not sure if I can do it. That's the reason I'm telling this story. I hope that someone knows the truth, something I haven't thought about. Please help me get out of this mess before it's too late. I want to hear from you. If you have any help, or if you know someone who has been through the same thing. At the very least, let this be a warning. Being alone can take you to places you didn't think were possible. Don't let it take over your life like it did mine. Don't wait until everything falls apart to understand what's going on. You can't go back once you cross that line. Thanks for hearing me. Feel free to share your ideas like this video. If it spoke to you, and follow for more, I need to feel like I'm not by myself. The worst betrayals aren't always the ones we do to other people. All of us do these things to ourselves.